All right, well, that was successful. Sorry about that. Still learning, always learning how we do these things. I'll wait again for all of you to come back. And we're back. Hello. Excuse me. Still working out the technology. Sorry about that. We'll just wait a couple minutes before everyone comes back. Yeah. So have you got audio? Have you got me? Should I just sing for the rest of our live stream? Still no mic? What do you mean? Is that true? Okay, so if that's a yes to having us online. Okay, we got audio. Nice. Thank you for clarifying. Apologies for the technical difficulties. All right, where was I? So we're talking about softness as a route to strength. If you imagine trees in the forest and there's a big storm and the fierce winds move through it, what are the trees that are most likely to survive? Is it the strong trees that are many decades old, centuries old even, that brace against the wind? Or is it the saplings that bend with the wind? This rigidity, this strength, supposed strength, actually in a harsh storm, is the source of these big trees getting pushed over. Whereas a young sapling, or if you think about bamboo in the wind, it flexes with the wind, and so then it survives. Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching talks about how suppleness and flexibility is the source of life. Things in their element are flexible, and then as things begin to die, they become rigid. And so rigidity is the source of death, or on the pathway to death. So, an invitation then is there something that you can soften in your life? Is there an area that you've been pushing too hard? And can you trust the paradoxical power of softness so that you still have your responsibilities met? You have that resilience and strength, that is the aspiration, but you get there with softness, with ease. So taking a moment to reflect, is there anything that you are forcing in your life at the moment? And is there anything that you could bring a bit more softness towards? And I would love to know in the chat, give me some commitments, some things you can soften around, as well as any other questions you have for today's session. We've got around 20 minutes now to have some time together, and then we're going to go jump on Zoom. On every Wednesday we jump on Zoom together so I can see you, and we'll do some movement and meditation. So yeah, any areas of your life that you can commit to softness? Any questions that you have that you'd like me to explore with you? Looking for a job, finding hard to be patient. Yeah, so I definitely know the feeling of applying for a job and applying for like 30 different applications and then getting rejected from all of them, and it's hard to find that patience, particularly when we begin to associate our value as a human being with whether or not we get accepted to the places that we're applying and the things that we want to do. It's easy when we get rejections to think, I'm not good enough, and we begin to take on these rejections as part of the story of who we are. So again, softness, softening around that. Can you trust the Tao? Can you trust your nature? Can you trust your path? That what happens to you is on your way, it's on your path, and so not to try and force things to happen quicker than they are supposed to, and not to then bring on the supposedly bad things that happen in your life onto the story for who you are. Can you stay present? And this is our mindfulness meditation practice. To come back to your center with all these rejections, and to know that your value as a human being transcends what other people think about you and the good or bad things that happen in your life, and to rest in your being as opposed to what you do. We are human beings, not human doings. And so, can you bring softness to these rejections? Can you bring softness to the feeling of inadequacy, the feeling of I'm not good enough when you have these rejections? Even that feeling that comes up, softening around that. So, I should be better at my meditation practice. I shouldn't take all these rejections personally, and the fact that I am taking them personally means that I'm not very good at living. Like, if you have thinking like that, first of all, noticing it, and then just extending kindness to that aspect of yourself. It's okay for me to feel like this. It's okay for me to, feel down when I get rejected. But again, keep coming back to the center when we do our movement practice later, coming back to the present moment and observing all the thoughts and feelings coming up, and that it's okay for me to feel like this, and to just trust your way, to trust your path. Then Mop C, talking about a rigorous schedule to, doing a master's or doing education, or maybe, stress at work or creative things that you want to do, and setting routines in order to work, but then feeling rigidity around that and feeling a harshness around that. So, is routine in conflict with Taoist principles? Routine can often be the source of harshness. We've preset a schedule out the day before and we wake up tired, but we beat ourselves round over the head with the schedule. Well, you've got to start working at 8 a.m, you've got to get on it, do your morning practice. Routine, like, how do you relate to that routine? Because you can be harsh with it. On the other hand, there are the Taoist monasteries and Master Gu's Tai Chi school where I studied, where we had a daily routine. We woke up at the same time every day, we did our Tai Chi at the same time of day, we ate at the same time of day. And in fact, that structure meant that we could flow, we could relax into that routine. And so then we weren't making daily decisions like, what should I be doing when should I be eating? And instead, we could find some softness around that routine. It actually created the container in which we could flow. So routine and scheduling in itself isn't necessarily against Taoist principles. It isn't necessarily a source of harshness. It's how you relate to that routine. So the principles that I bring into my work, and I set out what I'm going to be working on the night before, and I use timers in order to work. 25 minutes of focus, and then 5 minutes of standing up, doing some movement, cleansing my mind and coming into presence, and then dropping back into my focus. So in some ways it's quite structured, but that structure helps me flow. So a couple of principles that help me find softness with my routines is, one, the appropriate flexibility. If you are feeling under-resourced for a certain day, maybe you stayed up too late the night before, maybe you're feeling a bit under the weather, maybe you're holding things emotionally, using your wisdom to know it's okay sometimes to just take it easy, and giving yourself permission just to ease yourself into that day with kindness. And then the second part is those regular moments of coming back into presence. So, work is great and focus is awesome. And our focus is so precious in this world today where, we're constantly being bombarded with other options. Like right now next to my face, there's different thumbnails that you could be clicking on because YouTube wants you to have that dopamine hit every single time you're here so that you can keep watching, keep yourself satiated with more dopamine doses. And so your focus is really precious to stay in presence with your work and the things you want to do. That is a skill and is actually the secret source of having impact and living a life where you do things that resonate with you, and you can be creative because you have your awareness on the things that you want to do. So a key part to keeping focus in a grounded way and in a kind way is to come into stillness, to come into presence throughout the day. And so that's what I do with these 25-minute timers of focus, and then 5 minutes of movement or mindfulness. So I'll have the 25-minute timer, and then I'll do some movement, holding the breath, slowing the breath down, softening my face, shaking the body, maybe putting some music on, start dancing. Can you make it playful? If you're in the library, hey, look a wee bit silly, haha. And I used to, even at university, I would do like squats in the library. And I'm only kind of making that connection now that my practice of doing mindful movement throughout the day, I even did in university before my mindfulness journey began. So the concept of movement snacks, yay, what a beautiful concept. Rather than your movement only being first thing in the morning and then maybe a yoga class last thing at night, movement snacks, have a morsel of movements throughout the day. 25 minutes of focus, then get up, move, 25 minutes of focus, get up, move. So again, in terms of coming back to softness, the theme for today is if we don't have those movement snacks, if we don't have those breaks, we're forcing it until we get exhausted and then we burn out. Instead, can we focus and release tension, soften through the breath, soften through our mindfulness, and then back. And that flow, that's what leads to sustainable, joyful, soft energy with the things that we want to do. So some good comments talking about the power of softness, and Alvin, I'm glad that the retreat has been helping you. NC sharing, I generally think the worst thing is going to happen to me. Oh, let me read that again. I'm not quite sure what that means. Studying Tao. So Emerson sharing, after studying Tao for less than a month, my attachments of life begin to diminish. Nice. So it's kind of like what we've been talking about today. With our Tao practice, we can still do things and we can still have energy for life, but it's the attachment to that softens, the attachment to the outcomes. So through our mindfulness practice, we connect with the value of our being instead of what we do, and to know that we'll be all right no matter what happens. As Lao Tzu says, if good happens, good. If bad happens, good. Either way, we have the freedom to enjoy life, even the supposedly bad things that we would normally resist and tell stories about us, not being good enough because we've been rejected, or we've got conflict in our relationships. The Tao invitation is to extend kindness to all the things that arise in your life, and to extend playfulness to all the things in your life, to not attach as easily to the outcomes, and to trust in your ability to grow and to change and to move. Like the winds blowing through the trees right now. You know, the Tao, nature always moving. Everything's in a constant flux and a constant flow. And so can we trust that, yeah, we'll be all right? And from a meditation perspective, when we connect with our awareness, our consciousness, that which watches all of our experiences, you know, emotions and thoughts arising in our awareness that we experience. When we connect with the observer, the witness, we connect with our ability, which is our birthright, to experience even the greatest intensity, the most intense anxiety, sadness, grief, anger. All of it can be witnessed by consciousness without the consciousness itself being corrupted, without being destroyed. Often the stories that we have, we tell ourselves that I'm not strong enough to hold this, that I'm going to avoid looking at this pain, like I've had a conflict with a loved one. I'm just not going to go there because it brings up too much painful stuff about my trauma, and it's better if I just avoid it and not talk about it. With our meditation practice, we learn that actually we can hold that entity, and actually that's how healing happens, because what we resist persists. What we resist persists. And so if we're chronically trying to subdue and avoid parts of ourselves, then that leads to physical tension, mental tension, and the healing doesn't happen. So, yeah, can we trust ourselves that we can make it through, that we're stronger, more resilient than our thoughts could possibly capture? Nice thoughts from Melissa. Softening to people's resistance, anger and rejection by staying grounded in ourselves. Present, bringing love to ourselves. Mopsy sharing they appreciate finding softness, dancing in the library. If any of you go to libraries, that's your homework. Is to at least a mini dance in the library, bringing our playful Tao practice to our everyday. Yeah, and Barbara wishing us a great summer solstice, and indeed, yeah, the longest day of the year. And yeah, the endless cycles of nature continuing and marking these turnings of the seasons. There's kind of a lag between the amount of sunlight. You know, I'm in the northern hemisphere, and the hottest days are yet to come, but yet the amount of sun hitting the UK and the northern hemisphere is slowly going to be getting less and less, and then into winter, into these endless cycles. And our ancestors, I'm quite close to Stonehenge, 4,000 years old, that structure. Our ancestors were very aware of these seasons and marked them. What about desires and ambitions in regard to softness? Yeah, I'll take a few more questions. We've got maybe another 5-7 minutes. What about desires and ambitions in regard to softness? So it's similar to what I was just saying, really, about non-attachment. So, and the difference between intention and goals. An intention sets a direction, goals set the destination. So, yeah, maybe for my work, a goal would be to read 52 books in a year. An intention would be to deepen my understanding of the Tao and nature. So I actually hold both. I like the kind of having an explicit goal, like trying to read a book a week, which I'm not, keeping to this year because I've been doing lots of different things. So, that's a kind of a big ambition for me, I guess, a goal, somewhere to go with my practice. The softness extends to whether or not I achieve that goal. If you get to the end of your year and you do your New Year's resolutions and you do a reflection on how last year was, how much do you beat yourself up for not achieving your goals? If it's any amount, I would invite you to reflect that maybe that beating yourself up is part of the challenges and the problems that you're manifesting in your life. That harshness itself creates a almost corrosive energy. And can we bring lightness to still, lightness and softness doesn't mean we don't achieve. And yeah, how do we negotiate with ourselves when we don't achieve the things that we want to? Intention is a much more Taoist principle. So it sets a direction of a direction to go. So I want to, deepen this. I want to move towards this. And the intention gives the flexibility for, as your life unfolds and as your way, as your Tao unfolds, that there may be different things that you bring onto your path that mean that then you change direction. Now, if we have a goal, we predetermine where we think we should be, when in fact we may change and what life offers us may change. Now, if we are not open to that change, then we may not actually follow what really serves us. So that's where making sure that we hold, if we do have goals and specific ambitions, we hold them with the appropriate flexibility. I still like goals as part of my practice. But yeah, keeping that intention and that flexibility to move. And Joe Charles sharing, too many books, your head will explode, give yourself some space. And yeah, I think I honor my joy of reading. I love it. So that's part of my Tao, it's part of my way. And that's not going to be everyone's way and everyone's Tao. But space is also important. And yeah, it's important to hold goals with the appropriate lightness and flexibility so that we can not beat ourselves up with the goal. Mopsy sharing an interesting thought. Supposedly Eastern concepts stem around absence rather than presence. Softness, change, non-identity, etc. What is your opinion on this? How much do you keep presence? Cool question. Yeah, so the origin story for the Taoists, like their idea of how the universe came into being, is they said, there was the Tao, so their word for the universe, and the Tao originated before there was even form. So the Tao gave birth to zero, can't even remember the chapter. The Tao gave birth to zero, gave birth to one, gave birth to two, gave birth to 3, and gave birth to the myriad things. Don't think 0 is in the chapter. So the Tao predated all form. You know, even if we think that the Big Bang was how the universe started, the Tao is that potentiality that meant that the Big Bang was even possible. So science sees that, you know, we have our powerful telescopes that shows that everything in the universe is expanding outwards. We rewind the tape back 13.8 billion years, and it appears that everything in the universe started from a single point, a singularity. And so the Tao was the emptiness that predated even the singularity. So mysterious, our brains can barely contain that. So the Taoists put a lot of emphasis on emptiness. That emptiness is itself powerful, and it can be a principle that we return back to. So for ourselves, well, for me, my Taoist name that Master Gu gave me is Shu, which means emptiness, because it's only kind of later after he gave me that name, I realized that was the thing that I found challenging. Because, yeah, I love action, kind of stereotypical Western person of, yeah, do, achieve, achieve, achieve. And coming to emptiness actually is the source of my deepening and my rebalancing. That, you know, our society is full of doing, and so there's a lot of value to not doing or to emptiness. And so I was really grateful for that guidance from Master Gu to remind me of the concept of emptiness. And that's kind of a touchstone that I keep coming back to in my own practice and in my own life. So, yeah, how can emptiness be a concept that can support you in our meditation, as opposed to, yeah, presence being the aim of our meditation? Can we even let go of that aim, you know, to develop our concentration, or to develop our focus, or to develop our presence? Letting all of that go and to just simply rest in emptiness. And to see what that can teach you. Because even meditation, it can be quite a outcome-driven activity. I'm going to put my meditation timer on and I'm going to get this benefit from it. This is, you know, why I'm doing it, for my self-development. So long as we are stuck in stories like that, we are stuck in the ego, right? We're stuck in this idea of George or you being a person that can be improved through doing practices. And actually all this idea of improvement is precisely the thing that is taking us away from being here. Our journey on our spiritual path and our self-development path is not a journey from here to enlightenment, here to full realization. Instead, it's a journey from over there with ideas of who we should be to here, to the person that we are now. And actually, when we connect with who we really are, we find that we are this wiggly field of body and consciousness. That George is a story that I make up, and actually, if I keep on searching, you know, where is the self beneath all of the thoughts, we find there's nothing there. And so the liberating power of emptiness, the liberating freedom of realizing that we can rest in emptiness. The truth of our being is this field of matter and awareness, and we are inseparable from it all. There is no kind of fixed self. And so that's just one example of where emptiness can be an instructive teaching for us. And there are many stories of the Taoists emptying their minds and the benefits that they get from that. So, taking the moment of reflection, is there a place that you can soften with? Is there a place that you've been forcing in your life? Is there a place where more emptiness could serve you? Taking a moment to reflect. Could these teachings support you? Remembering that emptiness and softness is an option. All right, my friends, so thank you so much for joining me, 61 beautiful people. It's always such a privilege to be with you, and we're going to be jumping onto Zoom. So if you click the link in the description, or it might not be in this description because I did some other settings, so if you give me a moment, I will link it in the chat. And yeah, jumping onto Zoom together so I can see you, and we're going to do some movement here in the sun. So it's going to be a beautiful session. So if you haven't joined before, you are very welcome to join. And yeah, we're going to be moving and meditating together. Let's see, have I got this link? Dun, da, da, da. Let's try another way. One second, sorry everyone. If you go to wayfinders.global, that's another way that you can find the link. And yeah, I will be live streaming with you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 p.m. UK time for, around 30-40 minutes. And then every Wednesday, we have Move and Meditate, where we join on Zoom together. And here we go, I've got the link, everyone. And the structure behind me is I'm in a town, well, on the edges of a graveyard, and I think that was a memorial that was made, some time ago. So there's the link, my friends. Why don't you give that a go? And I'll see you on Zoom very shortly. Beautiful to be with you. There's 57 of you, so why didn't you jump on Zoom? It's a fun group. We're going to be together. And yeah, we'll be together for the next 20 minutes or so. Thank you so much. And I'll see you.